Yo, kind of want to do a run back on this religion thing. Spoke about it before. I think I had a prior talk based on last year, and I've kind of collected more intuition, material, and understandings to explain what I wanted to explain even further. It's kind of like trying to go into a deep dive of it's kind of like religion and spirituality. Some of the pitfalls you don't necessarily want to fall into. Now, as a base premise, you got to be open for discussion. If you're not open for discussion, if you're just going to stay on one aspect of things and you're just going to go, this is my religion, this is what I believe, that's it, that's all, well, then you fell into the trap. GG, it's over. You can just pass on to the next video. And it's a common trap. It's a common trap because, to a certain degree, repetition creates a subliminal programming. Repetition, that indoctrination's repetition causes a subliminal programming where you would just go, nope, nope, don't want to see it. It's just like the division that happened with the election. This can happen in multiple fields, but a kind of repetition gets you to a point where it's like, my opinion, that's it, that's all, I'm gone. Back that up, or add to that the aspect of being forced into, and when I mean forced into, it's either being socially criticized within your family or within an environment for not practicing the way that they want you to. It just stacks up and keeps the blinders on in the aspect of not necessarily being open for discussions. So if you are into that, state in a sense, and often find yourself with those reactions, don't worry. It happens. It is a natural byproduct of that repetition, which causes subliminal programming. It is okay. I'm not faulting you for that. Yet, if you still find yourself stuck in that state every time you're going to watch a video like this, pass on. Eventually, you're going to start getting this upon due time, or life will just show you various times where you find yourself in that contrast, and eventually you'll take that decision. Now, for anyone else or everyone else, understanding this makes you understand one of the pitfalls in the aspect of religion. And there's multiple factors to it. There's when you're born into an environment and you're led without necessarily your conscious choice, meaning your full conscious choice, understanding the repetition of such practice and such sayings, which you can't know when you're young. I mean, it's like asking a kid to know quantum physics, or just applying the basics of repetition to multiple fields in their lives, which they do not necessarily know yet. Remember, 0 to 8, 0 to 9 is where you just ingest in the subconscious mind as easily as that. So if you don't necessarily have parents that can teach you that with understandable words, and again, it took us up until now to understand this and have easier ways to break it down. Multiple people, multiple teachers are bringing different ways to break it down, and you'll find it on YouTube, you'll find it on seminars. Now it's kind of gone wild, which is cool, interconnection. Yet it wasn't a thing that our parents had. So coming from that background and understanding that you were when you were born, you didn't know any of it. So you didn't have any kind of mental connection to anything that was said. It doesn't matter what religion or any kind of spirituality. And I'm adding spirituality to it. I'll tell you why a tad bit later on. It's because it's all a game of balance. Yet, then you, being early and young, kind of like the Santa Claus story. And it's not saying that the Santa Claus story is bad. It's just making you understand that early on you did not know. So it sunk in and had its path with you. Meaning, you got the knowledge, you were introduced to that early on, thus believed it immediately, just like Santa Claus, saw some of the effects to a certain degree because your mind was now aware of this, and it was then able to perceive some of it from the information that was told to you. So sets of, let's say, descriptions, rule sets in a way. Now, where this kind of, aside from the early aspect of, the blindfolds, which is due to subliminal programming, well, when you're being told that if you do not follow this, you're going to go into the worst place ever, thus hell or any kind of variations of that, and that you are going against the introduction, the idea of an almighty creator that is always watching you and judging you based on your actions, well, then subconsciously, really early on, it's kind of like, I don't want to get coal in as a present, so I'm going to follow it. And unlike Santa Claus, this one is watching me all the time, not just around this point. So Santa Claus apparently watches you all the time as well. So who knows? The lore, the mythos changes depending on the person or the book or the gospel. So, but still, when you're being told that early on, it literally leaves a subconscious blocker of, okay, well then I have to watch my range of actions, quote unquote. Because what often happens over time is that as a kid, you're able to see that you're going to that 1 hour Sunday school or whatever, okay? And everyone's acting a certain way. Yet after that hour or 2 hours is gone, okay? Then it's a different deal at home. It's a different deal during the week. And here's the biggest thing that nobody seems to understand, like, out front. Because what is being taught to you is being taught in an aspect of rules. Yet it is not being taught any practice philosophy in this modern time. And when you start looking at practicing the philosophy, you start looking at the logic. And this is where you start seeing things like, okay, after that 1 hour, then gossip talk. But wait, weren't we taught to do unto others as we would want them to do unto us? Meaning, that also goes action and thinking. Would you want someone else to gossip on you without necessarily knowing your life and the incremental details about it, and for others to consider it as true? Of course not. Of course, you get to a point where you don't care, but initially you wouldn't necessarily want that, right? So, why you see when you start noticing that, okay, in church everything, then at home, okay, gossip talk, shit talk, and all of that, and the kind of interactions we would have also in the African American family, the harsh words and the beating. But wait, God taught you something different. Oh, well, I'm doing it for God, and I'm gonna give you a passage, a quote from the Bible that will set you straight. But wait, logic. Look, you see, doesn't make sense, but it does as well. Non-duality. Why? Is because if I have you repeating, going to that one place for a set amount of hours, okay, or a set amount of time to repeat this doctrine, okay, then your brain kind of links up this kind of feeling to that place and that practice. Yet it is not applied to everything else. It is not necessarily seen or spotted as a logic, okay? Which is, again, the utter logic. Do unto others as you would want them to do unto you. Now, here's the next thing. You can't have that main rule and have contradiction. There's no exceptions. Again, going back to Christianity, I and the Father are one, okay? That's not the person saying that. The Father is consciousness. So me and consciousness and the universe, quantum physics brings it as vibration, are one. Yes, you go down to the molecule level and it all gets down to different densities of vibration. Slower vibration kind of goes into physical object. Higher frequencies of vibration goes into thoughts, internet lines, Bluetooth, and various other frequencies. Okay? So it is all one. And you can even see that in the aspect of now science getting into the interesting, not medium, but the interesting theory or world of plants intercommunicating with each other. It's really fascinating, but there is this kind of intercommunication, and you can also see it with how we intercommunicate with water. There are various water practice, and you can check out the water crystallization experiment. So we're all one in this aspect as vibration, and we are interconnected. Yet if I tell you, no, you're not, this entity is the Almighty, and this entity, having created you, will judge you based on this rule sets. Then I've just locked you into a specific perimeter of actions that you need to follow, because I told you that creator needs you to do this. Okay? Or else you're going to be sent to the worst place ever. So, and you see that doesn't necessarily make sense, because when you understand that the creator, whatever you want to call it, universe, creator, Allah, whatever, okay, all of it, it doesn't really matter what the name is, but when you understand that as a creator, you don't create, how do I say, you do not create to then impose or subjugate. You're almighty, you're all powerful, you don't need anything, because if you do, you just create it, and you don't necessarily need anything from your creation aside from watching them evolve and having them evolve to the best of their being, because upon them evolving, they share and they empower others, in a sense, as you inspire others, as you help others, it's all part in that aspect of evolution, which also means you creating even more that will help others and propulse this massive, these jumps in evolution as a collective. We're not separated, we're not divided, we're all fucking vibration. We just think we're the mind and body because, again, the programming. You're being told that you are exterior to the creator. And again, taking a page from Greek mythology, you're being told that this creator is a humanized creator, a humanized deity. Yet, no. What was told by many prophets upon reaching the state of merging and understanding how we're all connected with the all is the aspect that by default you're already connected with the creator. You are already the creator. It's just that we've humanized the concept of the creator and the whatever you want to say, and we've kept it separately from us. We were told that, while all the prophets were telling you otherwise. That's why there's multiple texts that were banned, because they were talking as that. They were talking about that. Yet if you take the time to look at all religions, just take some time, look at multiple religions, don't necessarily follow one, you'll see that each and every one were telling practically the same thing. It's all returning within, not being distracted without, and not being divided without. So when you want to go going a bit deeper into that is the aspect that, again, I keep talking about the heart reaction. It's because it's your guiding compass. This is how you connect to spirit. You will understand that if you shit talk someone or yourself, it is a variation of the same feeling, which is separation. You feel bad, which is why you don't necessarily want to criticize yourself or anyone else. If you do it unto others, it is still in your mind. Thus, it will be used against you as casual talk in your head. So you're doing it to yourself. If you hate someone else, you are the one feeling it, feeling that separation. So that interconnection is right there. It's just that television and even subtle programming within religion, as soon as they started adding exceptions and bigotry to a certain degree, dogmas, then automatically, you start to forget. You're bombarded. You're kind of like hammered this aspect and this perception of thinking and viewing things. Yet when you stand back, you kind of go, wait, what? Which is why, like, the younger generation, around my time and then next, there was a clear disconnection from religion because we saw, and I'm not saying as a general, there's still some that were, bullied into it. Yet we saw one thing being told and another thing being practiced. And naturally, being connected more to the soul as a kid, as a young child, because we weren't bombarded with mind doctrines and rules, both from society and religion, until later on, passing the meat grinder of school and society and all of that. Well, we kind of went, well, wait, you're teaching me this, but you're acting this way. So that's kind of fucked up, And that's, again, key to what was said by all the prophet. Kingdom of God is open to the heart of children. Yes, because as a kid, early on, you don't judge anyone. You don't even judge yourself before, intense parenting kind of comes in with the shaming or the bullying and all of that. And you're fully connected within yourself, So, and here's the funny part. Some people nowadays because there's kids that just wouldn't really give a fuck about your opinion, and they're being called autistic. No, that's the natural state. Yes, there's an aspect of balance, of course. It is always a state of balance. It's not completely dismissing somebody, okay? There's a balance to it. Yet there's a non-attachment to your opinion. There's a non-attachment to your belief. And there's an anchor in oneself and one's person. Of course, there's various ranges of awareness, but already that as a head start is fucking golden. It's back to the initial state. So, but you see how society kind of labels that, right? They're autistic. Oh my God, they must be childs of Satan, right? No. It's we're now understanding the momentum that led to this point and the bubble bursting in a sense. And it is not saying that religion is bad. It had a good intention. It is just that it was picked up by people who did not necessarily understand what was said. It was industrialized, and at the same time, when that happens, it doesn't necessarily become a practice, a spiritual practice within, Even worse, it causes division, because then there's this little mind thing that happens where, and again, subtle programming, because you're told about the exception. If you do not follow this, then you're going to the worst place ever. So often people, and I spoke about that story when I saw that in the DVD, people feel the need to save other people when you were told at the beginning that all is one. We're all one. There's no need for saving. The Creator doesn't need it. Yet, through repetition, there is an us and an other that is created, a divide. And that's the issue that is often created with religions and even spiritual groups. Because if you're gonna see people in an indoctrination and then call them sheeps and drone, then you're separating yourself from everyone, without having a balanced passion or a balanced compassion to that wisdom of yours, where you kind of go, okay, I understand how certain people can get indoctrinated, so I understand this person's reaction. It's kind of like the no. Like, I understand it. I can understand how a person can get indoctrinated and the multiple granular factors that would lock a person's mind into that strict one way of seeing it. So at that point, I forgive them and I let them go. There's nothing really to forgive, because you're like, oh shit, yeah, that's natural. Upon due time, you're going to get it. But at the end of the day, I don't necessarily need to focus on the fact that you're not getting it. I understand it, And it's not necessarily an aspect of getting it versus not getting it. It's how deep and anchored the subtle programming is when you're being told that we're all connected. Yet you're seeing divide. So it's subtle. The language help. You look at the language, and here's a test, If upon going to your Sunday school, you come back and you watch the news, bing, failed. Why? Why are you listening to someone else's opinion about someone else's life that you will never know granularly? Or are you listening to someone else's opinion that creates a judgment? Right? Would you want that? No. Would you want someone else to listen to someone else's opinion about you without necessarily knowing what you do and the granularity of what led you to this current point? Because again, context is key. No. So it's so subtle, right? But then, okay, yeah, this is normal. It's normal to go and have those kind of opinions. It's normal to, have your 1 hour drink of church and then go back home and go on social media criticizing or feeling bad about XYZ. And then having excuses of saying, yeah, but it's this person. Yeah, but it's that. It doesn't matter who it is. You were told. Do unto others as you would want them to do unto you. Okay, so the same thing it reflects back, right? Oh, yeah, but it's you. Yeah, but it's you. No, right? Subtle programming. It really, there's deeper layers to that. Yet, as basic as it is, this is what kind of happened over repetition and time. And it because of that great feeling, that communion feeling during that 1 hour, the logic is never really looked into. Why? You're in ecstasy. You're fun. You're playful. You're having that moment there. Well, you could have that moment at any other points. It's just if you understood it as a philosophy, not as an association to an idea of what the creator is. A humanized idea of what the creator is. It's really tricky because, again, good intention, but when you notice that, again, take the position of a creator, be bold, ask yourself, because this is your birthright, but ask yourself, as a creator, really, are you going to create things to then criticize them, to then force them to act a certain way? Are you back to the Greek gods? Really? No. You look at quantum physics, even talking about the whole vibration thing, all is one. And then meditative practice, both from India and various other places, understanding that you have that interconnection with the creator. The only thing that is filtering that connection is the humanized version of the creator that you have in your mind, that was programmed in, which goes ones and zeros, do this, or else do this, or else do this for else. So whenever you're going to try to get that communication with meditation or whatever, well, that little filter is going to hinder it and fuck with your life. A lot of people went into these kind of depressions early on because of that perception created by religion. Because at one point you kind of go, shit, well, I can't do anything right. And it's maddening. Remember what happened with gays that were Christians or religious after a while, They either get completely segregated or they go into this bullshit that's like, okay, we're going to turn you around. We're going to set you straight, even though the creator created you in a way in his image, which is part of the all. So we're going to have you deviate from how the creator placed you in because of our perception of this humanized creator that would not want you, but already placed you in this way that you are with their almighty power. And apparently they need you to turn around because I tell you so. You start seeing how it kind of... Oh, okay, you want another example? Look at how they fucking treated women prior. It's that simple, and this is why, you look at religion in general and you can start seeing, okay, religion update patch 2.0, we're going to add women. Religion patch 3.0, because there's the witch trials. Okay, we're gonna stop the witch trial, and then another version. Okay, we're gonna add other ethnicities. Okay, and then another version. Okay, well we're gonna add LGBT. It's like, but the creator just said accept the all. How can you think? But it's the programming. The people that bring this up, they're not evil. They were just repeated this aspect over and over and over, and keep it as an aspect of their only thread of fate. And that's where oftentimes they'll go, no, 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 because it's their only thread of fate, their only lifeline to this connection. And it's fake. The lifeline was always this natural intercommunication, interconnection between us all and even nature. It was always that. It was not a strict set of doctrine. It's always do unto others as you would want them to do unto you. Interconnection, if you feel somebody in a happy moment, you watch somebody in a happy moment, you're going to feel it. It's part of that interconnection. So you wouldn't necessarily want to make somebody sad, yet you're not staying hooked on what they do, meaning you understand where they came from and what leads them to certain emotions, and you're not necessarily tied to their emotions. See, it's a part of balance. It's not saying that, oh yeah, you're going to douche out certain people. No. You're going to act the way that you do in an aspect of balance, which is respectful of the other person's state of being, roughly understanding where they came to, because you'll never really understand the full granularity of it, or life's are really complex when you really think about it. Yet you're always doing this in an aspect of unity, in a spirit of unity. So wouldn't necessarily want someone else judging me like that, wouldn't necessarily want someone else acting that way like that. Okay, so I won't do it. That's simple. I'm going to attempt to understand the person, yet at the same time I will detach from any emotional reactions, not take on emotional reactions that I wouldn't necessarily want, because then I'd pass it on to others. It's like the mood thing. You don't necessarily take your mood from work. You don't take your work home, because then you pass it on to everyone else around. If you're really mad at a certain degree, don't go back home. Dish out that stress, go to the gym, do something else, but you don't necessarily want to spread it out to at home, because they haven't lived what you live to dish out that emotion, that energy. And then guess what happens? It bounces right back to you, because they'll react the same way. Energy just passes by. It's like an example I kind of spoken about in the podcast. This mother that I know, being taught by a generation that was kind of yelling at her when she was a kid, and now finds herself doing the same pattern with her kid. And the kid reflecting it back at her in the aspect of being strong-minded, stubborn, the same way the parent is in attempt to get the kid to act a certain way. So it reflects back and forth and just causes multiple needless arguments, because it's just a reflection, you see? So it's tricky, yet it's understandable. And all of it is practice. It's all about taking that time and understanding within, like making that time to understand within. Okay, how do I feel? How would I feel if that were the case? How would I feel if I was treated this way? How would I feel if I was thought of this way? And you start noticing the internal programming that kind of comes in result to those moments in encounters. But then you don't judge yourself, because the creator is going to send you a message. Oh, heart reaction. What was I thinking about? Well, I was thinking I was being a bit of a shit there. But I kept it as an absolute instead of understanding there's a path of thinking that led me to act that way. Now that I notice it, how do I flip it? What would I prefer? How would I prefer to be acted upon? And then apologize and then move on. You know, it's not this aspect of, oh, you're gonna have to confess, bitch. No, you're gonna have to confess. They need you to confess. You know, it's like, no, no, no. It's like the sin is not this eternal damnation type of deal. You've just missed the mark once. Change. You can change on the spot. Yet again, remember, when you're being programmed into thinking a certain way, then there's small little habits like acting, we could say to a certain degree, acting shitty towards the weak, then getting your absolve during that 1 hour, going to the confession, and then saying, okay, everything is fine, and then going back to reset mode and acting shitty. But then that creates a loop that will just eventually have the bubble burst. So it is a fake absolvement. The real absolvement is always from within. No one else can give it to you. It's all this aspect of programming. The idea that it is given from another is a subtle mental programming that tells you, okay, whatever this person is telling you in this moment absolves you. Oh, okay. But wait. Wouldn't you be able to just repeat that in your mind at home? Oh, you could. What's the difference? Well, this person is holy. Class different. Divide. You're being subliminally programmed. So, again, not out of bad intentions. It is simply a practice, a repetition that was never really looked at in a logical method, as well as looking at the repercussions of said practice and the interconnection between that practice, those kind of religious practice and dogmas, and then social dogmas, and then seeing the back and forth. Because, hey, it's much easier to say that you're possessed by the devil instead of saying that that mental illness was created by me putting rule sets on you that weren't fitting your being. And of course, now to the point of balance, okay? Because it's not here to blame. It's all here to understand what it creates, how it got to this point. Now to a point of balance. Just like with spiritual practice, it's all the same rule. Do unto others as you would want them to do unto you. You don't necessarily need specific practices. Now there are interconnecting or practices to get into that interconnection with the Creator, the all in a sense, you know. And various religions will teach different practices, yet the end result is the same thing. It is that interconnection. You just got to be careful not to fall into the dogmas, okay? Yet if you just take time to look at multiple religions, you will see and feel that interconnection that was spoken about by the different prophets that were not necessarily understood by their disciple, who were not at that advanced state to understand it. Also, the wording was not at the state to make it clearer and clearer and clearer, you know? Which is why visualization is a very interesting thing along with metaphors, because the metaphor can get you to see in advance various imageries depending on how specific things are phrased. And again, going back to the subconscious programming, the societally mentally created illnesses, watch out what you listen to, because that repetition will have you visualize certain things that you may or may not want until you take hold of it from your natural God-given gifts, creator-given gifts. Imagination is that connection. So don't let yourself get that imagination hijacked, okay? Don't. Because it is that connection. In the West, we kind of threw it away and said, oh, imagination, don't you dare daydream, you know? But it is that connection. Creating the unseen. Whatever piece of work or art that you do is that aspect of acting as the creator. Because something that is unseen, felt within, is then created out of joy and passion, without judging it, with the heart of a child. So fully focus on exploring, discovering, creating, fun, playfulness, you know? You just kind of get into that motion and beat until you get told about judgment and then get a list of dogmas. Then it's just, you know? You won't even post that shit on Instagram after a while, you know? So it is, yeah, that's practically that in a sense, you know? And yeah. Here's the thing, just looking at what could possibly happen in the next few years, it's as if a realization of a bigger and bigger realization of our intercommunication and interconnection will be understood. So those who would stick, you would call them the old guards. Those who would stick to certain dogmas will more and more understand how they are sticking to the ego, to the brain, the kind of like the Satan, the divide. You know, they'll start understanding it, because again, you can't be the only crazy person in a room of 4 being negative while everyone else is being positive. It's not gonna work. You're gonna start asking questions, or you're just gonna go mad and say fuck everyone, they're all wrong. But then your life kind of ends short, because depression, anxiety, anger, back and forth destroys your cell. Science proves it. Interconnection with all molecules, water experiment. So they'll just die out, unfortunately. Yet it's not their fault. Again, repetition and programming, especially over a number of years, often keeps you anchored. And that's why, you know, we can do subliminal tapes to rewrite that for various things, you know, for various parts of our life, because there's various kinds of programming that we took unconsciously. Listening to certain songs, listening to television, listening to certain authority figures. You know, if you're being told as a pastor, I have authority and I am the word of God, filtered through the mind and not necessarily reflected upon, but as it is filtered through the mind, it brings the mind's exceptions and indoctrination. So we're in an age where things are going to go amazingly fucking well. Because again, more and more people are starting to understand this, and more people finding ways, different wording and explanation and ways to present this to get people to understand their natural God-given gifts, you know, without going to the other extreme of unbalance, which is, I am God! You will bow to me! Humanized. See? Extremes. The balance is, again, do unto others as you would want them to do unto you. And the same kind of goes with this interconnection with nature, which is going to be something that will be balanced out, because oftentimes people stuck in the mind still believe in this little game of money. So they will fuck with nature, fuck with human beings and entire nations to get that paper. But when you think about it, as a kid, when you didn't know anything about it, this shit didn't have any value. Think about it even further. Prehistoric time. No value. Think about it this way. What was it? What are we? Trillions of debt? To who? Aliens? We print that shit on this pocket bubble of a planet. Again, on this pocket bubble of a planet, those rule sets are created from within. Yet, when you understand that they're created from within and has been, let's say, evolved through generations and generation, you also see how it's just, how do you say, fictional in a way, in its way, okay? And, of course, we can't necessarily dive into the subconscious beliefs about that yet, but you start understanding that just like religions, the rule set that you're being given about this are what they are. They are given. They're not a fixed thing, you know? So we'd be diving a bit more into quantum physics, and that will be for another time. Yet, all is mindset, all is repetition, all is this aspect of it, this interconnection between reality and imagination, because all of it blends in, you know? So Take the time, play with this. Take it with a grain of salt. Look at multiple sources and resources and make your own opinion from taking the time after this video or during this video to pause and reflect back on your early times. Always use your baby time as the main anchor point, because that was the initial state you came in on this earth. And this is the best vintage point to tell you how you grew up, how you were given these perceptions and ways of seeing, and how it influenced you. And from that, you're able to notice the same way it affected other people around you. Especially if you notice kids, you notice how they are at the beginning, the really, really early on. And you understand that that was your state. And also, when you see them smile, as babies, of course you're going to naturally smile. It's naturally going to bring that up. Remember, interconnection. It's just like smiling to somebody in the street. 50-50 chance of them smiling. 80-20 chance if they're already in a good mood. And you already leave a seed for them to be happier and happier and happier. It's a part of our interconnection. But also the programming as well. If I show you tragic imagery and I tell you this is why, and you're going to start feeling that even though you're not in the context of it, well, it's using that interconnection to program you, Watch out, man. Television has made us used to reacting to events that are not in our current set program, in our current set vision. And the same goes with storytelling. Just like religion. If I keep telling you about this story that happened to someone and that person did all that for you, and this person is higher and mightier than you, even though that person told that you and I are the same and you all have those powers, well, then you're going to feel that way for an amount of time. It's all in the way that is said. It's misunderstanding, misinterpretation, and also certain people who are still stuck in this aspect of the mind and need to control people for stupid low money, All right, man. That's it. Yo, place some comments if you want. Have some fun. Share. Discuss. Again, form your own opinion. Look at various sources and do that reflection within. It's our biggest key, and plus, it's our communication. So take that time to do that reflection within. Put more time into that than whatever time is being placed on watching someone else's life on Facebook or on YouTube. Balance. Yet your life, your mind, you clean it up because it's yours. It's not you. It is yours. It can become you, non-duality, right? But it's yours. So clean it up. Have fun. And don't feel judged for not cleaning it up. We didn't fucking know what we didn't fucking know. And the same goes for the people who taught us that way. They didn't know what they didn't know. So you can now feel the internal torment, the personal hell that they created themselves with their own mind. They were indoctrinated that way. Yet it is still an action done by an individual. You can teach me something, you can tell me something, yet upon me being conscious of what I can accept or how I can accept, or better said, upon me being conscious of the end result of that repetition, I can just say, I'd rather not accept that. It's cool. Thank you for suggesting, but I'm out. You have choice only when you know. And now you know. So get on it. Have one, man. Have fun. And play. Again, like a kid. Do that interconnection aspect like a kid. Having a method actor conversation with your mind. Because you're the soul, you're not the mind. You have the mind. But that interaction will happen. As a soul, you're interconnected with everyone. So we'll get deeper into it with maybe another video where I'll try to go deeper into it. Gonna gather some more knowledge on it as well. Channeling and meditation just brings that up to you naturally. So you can do that too. Have fun. Play. Be like a kid. Go with it. But balance. It's all about balance. Not too far. Just balanced.